What's up guys, Brian Elliott here, and today I want to talk about atmosphere aerosol, or haze in a can. A couple years ago I made a video on this before I'd actually shot any real videos with it. I just kind of tested it out a little bit on camera, and so I wanted to make an updated video giving you my best tips for how to utilize it the best and what I've learned about it since using it the first time. So let's go ahead and jump right in. And I do want to apologize because I'm going to be looking down this whole video because I'm looking at my monitor to see what's going on with the atmosphere aerosol and all of that. Tip number one is to close down your aperture a little bit. Typically when I'm using haze in a can, I'm between f4 and 5.6, maybe even 6.3, something like that. Because when you're at 2.8, 1.4, it doesn't really show up at all. Right now I'm at f4, and as we can see, there's a little more depth to the shot, but if we're spraying, we can still see kind of some of the detail on that. But for example, I'm gonna go ahead and real quick jump to f2.8. All right, so now I am at f2.8. And we're going to do the same test real quick. And as we can see, you can still kind of see it, but there's a lot less detail to it. It just kind of all muddies up. And particularly if you don't have direct lighting sources like this, you're not really going to see it at all. It's just gonna kind of just sort of be faded into the background. At 1.4, you basically kind of lose all the detail of anything that's not right by where your focus area is. It kind of really diminishes the whole purpose of using the atmosphere aerosol. So I recommend 4.0 to 5.6 to get the most out of this effect. I'm gonna go ahead and switch back to f4 so that we can really see what's going on. And tip number two is make sure that you have somebody dedicated to being in charge of the atmosphere aerosol on set. It dissipates quickly. You need somebody who can just be there with it, ready to spray right before you say action, so that you can get the most out of the atmosphere aerosol. If you're wearing all the hats behind the camera, it can be really tricky to actually get the shot that you want. Tip number three is allow extra time on set. When you're working with atmosphere aerosol, it takes a little bit of extra time. You've got to spray it, you've got to kind of work with it, you've got to work with your lighting, figure out what's going to show up. It's not just a plug and play kind of thing, just set up the camera, hit record, and it'll all work. It's a lot of experimentation to really get atmosphere aerosol to look the absolute best it possibly can. Tip number four is use hard backlighting to really get the atmosphere aerosol to show up the absolute most. As we could see in our earlier examples, you really only could see it after I'd done the initial spray, kind of floating in the air by this light and by this light, because that's really what the camera sensor and the lens kind of catch. With my eye, I could see a lot more floating around, but the camera sensor really picks up the haze with light. One really fun thing you can do is get kind of that light beam with a flashlight effect. I'm just going to try it with my phone real quick and we'll see kind of how that works. So spraying, and then with the phone you can see it doesn't work insanely well, but you can definitely see the flare. If I had like an actual beam flashlight, we could really see kind of what was going on. A bonus tip, if you want something really interesting and moody with your atmosphere aerosol, is shoot in slow motion. The way that the atmosphere aerosol will move is really, really cool when you're shooting in a slow motion frame rate. It makes it much more kind of interesting and dynamic. This won't work on all projects. Obviously, if you're shooting a narrative film that most stuff needs to be in 24 frames a second, shoot 24 frames a second. So I hope that these 5 tips were really helpful for you guys. I hope that they kind of inspired your mind a little bit. about ways that you can use atmosphere aerosol to improve your films and hopefully kind of help you prepare on set so that you can get the most out of the atmosphere aerosol. I'll catch all of you very soon.